people. Welcome to a fairly unusual late night stream. It is currently 12:38 a.m. here in Australia, at least on my side of Australia. And the situation is a little unusual. So, well, firstly, you can probably hear I'm a little sick. This is my ideal preparation for a competition. Get sick the week before, spend the whole week sleeping, go out, do one training session, change my sight, and then shoot like a personal best tomorrow. So that's my battle plan right now. So I've got the Moomba shoot at Moorabbin Archery Club tomorrow. It's a short range shoot, Adelaide round, which I think is 60 and 50 meters on the big face, and then 40 and 30 meters on the small face. So it's a fairly gentle and easy competition, very popular one down in Melbourne, and looking forward to doing it. I haven't planned to do the state short range, which is a Canberra round, but I have planned the Moomba one. Now, like I said before, I'm feeling a little unwell, so we'll see how we go. But it should be fun. My only concern is, well, getting enough sleep beforehand and not throwing up during the event. So it's more a survival thing. We'll see how we go. And hopefully it'll be a fun day. I know a lot of people there are looking forward to it. Weather seems good, 22 degrees Celsius. Seems wind should be okay. Haven't been to Bradford for a while too, so it'd be nice to go back there and have a shot. But yeah, I should be asleep now. I'm sleeping most of the day. And I'm only going to be, well, it's 12:40. I should be awake in about 6 hours. So we'll see how we go. But with that said, we do have a chance to clean up some of our backlog from our form checks. We have 4 videos, I think. I'd normally expect more. Like when I run these once a month or once every 2 months, I normally get 3 or 4 submissions. I swear I had more than 4 videos. But I've got 4, so I might have missed something. By the way, if you're in chat right now and you want to get a form check, feel free to send one in during the stream. We're running for about an hour. And it's a chance for those who don't know what I'm doing here. This is the live form check stream, which we normally do every month or so. The purpose of this stream is to give feedback on people who are learning archery. So people send in videos, and we go through a bit of a critique for form and list out some improvements. So be here to learn from each other as well as improve ourselves. So welcome to everyone who is in chat right now. I see we've got a very good American time. It's 12:41 here. So what time is it over there in the States? We've got a few people from Florida. We've got Charles from Poland. That's not America. But nice to see people joining in. So I don't really have a lot of preamble. Again, I'm kind of sick, so I don't really want to ramble too much about how I'm feeling. So let's get straight to a form check. So again, I do apologize if you sent something in and I've missed it. Then just remind me at some point. Just because people send me things in the email through Facebook and now through Instagram. So I've got like 3 or 4 different sources, and I'm not organizing my thing very well. So I think someone has to remind me in the future that when people send me videos, I need to make a note somewhere that you sent it to me. Otherwise, I'm gonna lose track of everything. So let's pick one. Let's go to our Instagram one first. So we've got a couple of nice videos. Let's get this one full screen first. Whoops. Let's get full screen if possible. If not, we'll do it this way. Alright, let's see if there's a full screen option. Hang on. This one. I want to see this. Let's get watch on Instagram instead. Instagram's very mobile heavy. So if it's not on your app, it's pretty hard to look at. I don't think I can see messages. That's a shame. That's not important. Okay, so we'll look at the one here. So just bear with me. There'll be a few things on screen, but this isn't too important. So let's watch this one first. And by the way, if you have any questions, feel free to send them my way. Just tag me nu.sensei so I can see my name on the screen. We'll be taking any questions as we go along. But let's watch our first one together. This is from Instagram. So this is Alec Costa. So this is on my Facebook feed, of course, but it's on Instagram. You should see this okay. So hopefully this turns out alright. Let's have a watch and give some feedback to Alec Costa. So, oh, that's Alejandro. Oh, good. Okay, so let's watch. I want to full screen it, but it's the best thing to do at the moment. That seems alright, actually. The first impressions are, that's a nice shot process. Good timing. It's good focus. This is actually not bad. That wasn't me, was it? That's his phone. That looks pretty good. That looks pretty good. Let's see the side view. Yeah, no, for what he's doing, this is pretty good. It's solid. We've got some good technique here. The draw is nice. That's a nice anchor point. It's got good focus, good intention. It's good foundation form. This is actually pretty good. I can't rewind it, so we'll replay. So let's talk through a few things. This is something which I don't normally praise so quickly, but I think all the fundamentals are there. So if you look at, let's say, so the basic form here looks really nice. So they've got very good T shapes. They've got the elbow in the right position. The grip is not too tight. The elbows turn out nicely. This is pretty good. And in fact, if you look at the alignment here, we'll see that the elbow is aligned nearly perfectly with the bow grip. So the positioning is the most natural and the most optimal. So this is already a very good position. We see the body, the stance is strong. It's a strong stance. Anchor's really nice. We see the anchor point. The intention is there, so it actually is aiming or is focusing on the target, depending on how he's aiming. But this is a pretty good shot. I mean, for the most part, everything up to here is looking really good. The release is fairly good as well. Looks fairly consistent. If there's only one thing I might point out, it's a really minor thing, but something which is important to keep mentally. Watch the follow through. Now, that's pretty good. But I've noticed with a couple of shots, the follow through can be a little behind. Let's see if this one. Okay, for the most part, this is good actually. I'm not gonna pick up the release. So I think from this angle, so just be mindful of what we might call the dishonest follow through. So when we're talking about the techniques, right? I think for the most part, what Alejandro is doing really well is going through all the motions. So he has the process in mind. It's ingrained. So when it comes up to he has a good process. So he stance is strong. He brings it up, comes to his anchor point, and he focuses and he releases. And all this is really good process and very good technique. What I think people might sometimes fall into, and I don't think Alejandro is doing this necessarily, but some people do this. They will go through all the motions, release, but lose back tension. So the release happens, and then they just slide the hand behind. There's no reason for it to happen, but they just let go, and then the hand goes behind. Now, a dynamic release will have this effect. It will come behind the head, but when you are applying consistent back tension and you maintain that throughout the entire shot process, the dynamic release tends to be a lot snappier. So it tends to be more abrupt rather than release and then let go. So it's something which Alejandro might have to watch out for when he's shooting, is if the release looks and feels a little limp or dead, then it may indicate a loss of back tension. So the focus has gone from the back to the hands, so the hands release, but the back has lost its tension. Like I said, I don't think it's a problem which Alejandro has in this sequence. It's not a consistent problem. I think most of his shots are quite good. So let's see a few more shots from the replay. It's got a very good process here, and releases. I think that one's a little limp there, so that was a little less honest. So we get to his anchor point, he releases, and then he slides it back. So we should be expecting. I mean, that's not too bad. There might be one or two shots where he loses back tension. And most people will go through these slumps and inconsistencies. But overall, it looks really good. I'm really happy about his shooting. I think he'll be having good results on target too. I think he studied the stance well. Like his stance is good, his techniques are very good. Bit of pre-draw, bit of tension. It's good. It's nice, strong, confident. And this is a very good beginning for our form check. I also like how he leaves the arrows on the ground here in front of him. A lot of people leave arrows out of reach and they walk around. They ruin the stance and they become inconsistent for no reason. So I'm glad in both videos he's got the arrows at his feet. So this is good practice habits. It's a nice routine. He's doing really well, and I think he should be pretty happy with that. So well done, Alejandro. Thank you for the video, and that's a very good opening for our form checks. I might go through this quite quickly, actually. If things are that easy, then well, actually, after seeing a few of these, they might not be that easy. But we'll keep on going. The next one is from Eliza, and Eliza's just been starting out too. So let's have a look and see what Eliza's doing. So let's have a quick look over here. There we go. Alright, so we've got a few things happening. So we've got a nice beginner kit, we've got a sight. Okay, I like that. So let's actually see the reflection. I keep forgetting to read the reflections, but what as you said, stuff to fix. Weak hook, the T shape, overly big draw. That's true. Less broken process, leading to the side, hitting my arm. Ouch. Okay, so we'll see what happens there. Alright, so. Ooh, new finger tab. Deck cut. Nice. Got a cheap stabilizer. Nice. That's my video. Oh, that's cool too. I like how people load. Alright, looking good here. This is the epitome of beginner videos. This is good basic form, and we'll work on a few things. So this is a very nice learning video. Thanks for sharing this. We can learn a lot from you. So let's see how we go. I see what you mean. Okay, now this is good. This is good to really reflect on. I always say a good video is one which shows honesty. But you can't expect people to be perfect to start off with. So showing the process and the learning process is super important. So we'll watch the sequence. We won't judge this yet. Target cam. Back view. Oh, that's not bad. I like the jumper, by the way. Gotta admit, the cats are great. Okay, at least we're aware. We know what it should look like. I get the impression that having the out of focus, but I like that. I get the feeling that Eliza knows what back tension is. So we're trying to achieve that. Yes, we're working on that. Destroying exercises, good angle as well. This is a surprisingly comprehensive training video. Whoa, that's a very comprehensive training video. When most people send videos in, it's normally not with this much editing, so well done. He does this. It makes the coach happy, especially an online coach. Look at this. Slow motion release. I'm assuming she's shooting to a target on the couch. This is a bit too good to analyze. This is more fun to watch. Whoa, target cam, there we go. And there's so much you can analyze. Nice CGI. This is fun. This is actually really nice. Wow. Normally I have to watch the same thing like 10 times over, but everything is different. There's actually so much to analyze here. So we've identified quite a few things, and self-reflection is good. And I think there's a lot to work with. I mean, this is one I have to watch the whole thing just to see what happens next. No spoilers. Yeah, this looks really fun. And I think the main points that Eliza raised at the very beginning are quite relevant in this sequence. So I think we're going to reinforce some things Fury said, and we'll try to work out how to go forward from here. Wait, that's cool. That's cool. Sorry, still sick. Very nice. Okay, that's the end, right? Okay, very interesting. So we've got a lot to analyze. Phew. Let's take a break, people. If you're in a chat right now, what do you think we can work on? It's a pretty quiet chat, but let's see how we can go. Yeah, so Lookman is right. The bomb does go right, and that does show like a forward push. And we'll talk more about that as we go along. So yeah, it's pretty quiet tonight. Maybe because I've come in a pretty weird time, but hey, we'll see how we go. So let's have a quick look here. Let's replay this, and let's see what we can learn. So there's quite a lot happening. So the front arm is something we might touch on. We might look at it now. There are a few sequences where you see the front arm not cooperating, to say the least. That's not a huge problem. All right, let's talk about the arms as we're out of here. This is the way we see it the most, all right? So from this frontal view, what we'll see is that the bow arm will swing towards the right. Let's see what happens. Right. So we see a fairly, I'll say a limp release, but we see the arm drop down and to the right. Let's make a few more shots. Is this the same shot? It is the same shot. All right. Yep. So go slightly down and right. Let's have a look at this one over here. All right. You can see right in the slow motion, the stop there, arm just right. So that's one thing. One thing you have to remember when doing this, Eliza, and for anyone else watching this, is that when we're shooting, you want to keep the push motion. So you are, of course, expanding. As you expand, you are experiencing a 50-50 motion. The drawing hand will continue to expand back. They don't move the anchor point, by the way, so you're expanding through your shoulders. So the rear hand, the drawing hand, will move back, and the front arm will be pushing forward. Don't forget to push forward on the drawing arm. What tends to happen, and we'll flip the camera around to see how we can explain this. So it's, I think Lookman's right here. It's a bit too relaxed. So there should be, you should maintain a bit of tension through the shot process. So as you're shooting, remember to push forward with this arm. So you're going like that. So the motion, and this is something I've picked up more recently with a bit of coaching and some form correction, is imagine that you are trying to push through this part of your body. So instead of pushing with your hand and try to reach forward, try to push from here. And the way you imagine this is, let's say you're trying to push somebody. If you push someone with your hand alone, it's a very weak push. Whereas if you push someone with your whole upper torso like that, you're going to shove them backwards. So a bow is the same thing. As you hold the bow, don't forget to push forward with the bow. But don't push forward by reaching forward. Push forward using your lats. I guess you talk about this part here, but use your torso, use your body to push forward. So as you're at full draw, when you expand, this anchors and your arm is, you're using your shoulders to push back, but also pushing forward with this. So that's the motion you want. It's very important because if you do it right, you will have a much straighter shot. Whereas when you allow the arm to relax too much, it will drift. So normally the right drift will indicate a loss of back tension. Some coaches and schools of thought, and in general, with the way the body works biomechanically, when you execute the shot, you should expect your arm to go forward, down and left. So as you're opening the shot, it's more natural to go that way because you're squeezing, expanding, and you're releasing. You tend to go that way a bit more. Now, some people will swing slightly differently, in different ways, but some people will swing in different directions. But mostly, biomechanically, a good expansion would go left. If you're going right, like I said before, it normally indicates a loss of back tension, and you're overcompensating by drifting this way. So you will see a lateral movement of the bow. So that's one thing to look at. Now, Something else to look at, that's one. There are quite a few things, but that's one thing to keep in mind that will solve a lot of problems, is remember to maintain the forward movement of the arm. So push from this area and push forward in the shot. Now, the second thing I want to talk about is the shot process. So we have what Eliza called the staggered draw. So that's we saw that before. That can lead to target panic, by the way. So not having the right timing and the right focus can lead to target panic. Now, there's one thing which people overcompensate, and it's drawing too slowly. That's not what she's doing. She's drawing a bit too quickly. That's not the problem she's having. But what this often does is that it doesn't allow your body to establish the right structure before you proceed. So we see the entire shot process, and this happens from the very beginning. We don't just look at the shot from when you pull it back. You have to look at the shot process. Is that the actual shot? Okay. So when you look at the actual shot process, we need to establish a routine before we even pull the string back. Okay. Now, what routine you use will depend on how you're coached. I mostly do KSL these days, and it's important to understand why this process exists. All right. And this process exists to prevent things like that. But let's not overdo it. So what Eliza is currently doing is she's focused on knocking the arrow first. She's looking at where her hook is, which is good, and she goes straight to her draw. Okay, so there is a process here, but she's only conscious of pulling it back to her anchor point. So it's like the first step in the process is anchor. I hope this makes sense to Eliza. I hope this makes sense to you, but it's important to incorporate a step-by-step approach. So while you are, of course, trying to reduce the staggered process, you actually need to work with a staggered process to understand each step consciously. And as you practice each step and become more fluid and confident, then these will become more fluid. So what we need to recognize, let's just check chat for a moment here. So Lookman's actually predicting it quite well here. So we need a set position. So let's work through what Eliza needs to work through. So the first thing we need is a set position. The set position is your starting point. So if you look at Eliza right now, she doesn't have a set position per se. She has, we've got quite a few shots here, but let's look at this one here. So she has no set position. So as soon as she knocks and holds the string, she's already in the process. So you need to establish a starting point for your process. Now, what you will often see archers do is that they will rest the bow a certain way. They'll put tension on the string, but they will often put the bow against the inside of their leg. Now, this isn't the same for everybody. Everybody has a slightly different start position, but the set position requires you to ensure that everything is in place, your stance, your posture, your hook, your grip, and you rest the bow against your body or your leg in some way. So make sure before you even lift the bow, you are going to start. This is both a physical step to ensure consistency, but also a mental step that you are saying to yourself, I'm going to begin the process. And once you begin the process, you don't stop the process. So make sure you have a set position. This isn't set. This is just pulling the bow back. So set up your position. Make sure each shot is done independently, not continuously, and make sure that you have a start and end point. So it's a cycle. Start the cycle with a set position. I recommend that as mental training, you put the bow, the bottom limb against the inside of your leg and focus on the target before you proceed to the next step. So the first part is the set. Now, the second part, which should be here, is called setup. Now, this is KSL training, but most archers have some structural component. So the reason why this draw, that's a fairly slow draw, the reason why the draw is inconsistent and staggered is because we don't have the steps broken down enough. So what we should be doing is once it goes from set to setup, before we draw the string back, we need to try and make sure that the shoulders are in line. So we see this in the back over here, in the back view, and because we're aware of this, we can talk about it more freely. So because at this point, Eliza hasn't set her shoulders in position yet. She's gone straight from the pre-draw, so she's got the arrow knocked, goes straight to a draw and anchor. So all these motions happen in one shot. It's too quick, and it's not enough conscious thought about what's happening with the shoulders. Now, the alignment looks okay, but it's very hard to achieve this if you don't know exactly what it looks like. So we know she's trying to do this. There are some exercises she's doing, which is trying to get it right. She's more focused on the T shape rather than the shoulders. The shoulders are what dictates the T shape. So that is going to be correct, yes. And so watching the elbow is important, but that's hard to find this angle really. But try to pay attention to where the shoulders are aligned. So we'll try to watch the back view again, because this happens to be good. Now the elbow is a little high, but that's different from shoulder alignment too. But with the shoulder alignment, I'm going to be going through step by step here. So we have the set position. So the archer is ready to go. Then we have the set up position. So in this case, you get your shoulders in line and you feel your shoulder blades come in, alright? So we're doing from the back view. Alright, so we have set. Let me shuffle over a bit. So we have set position and then set up. Set in motion. So set is you get ready to shoot. Set up, then draw, then anchor, and then go through the rest. So you want to have that setup position. So be aware that before you draw the string back, you should have your shoulders in position. Not as you draw, but before you draw. And that means we can then go through the rest of the shot process. So let's go back to the beginning. So we have the set position. Once everything's set up, alright, we should set first, then set up. At this point, you should pay attention not to your target, but to your shoulders. So make sure you have the front shoulder down. Make sure you have your shoulder blades positioned so that the angle's slightly away from the target towards the right, because you're right-handed. And that should also get your starting point in line too. So when you do draw, okay, because everything's done in one motion, I'll restart that. So everything's done in one motion, you're kind of panicking the draw. This is a very high intensity shot. You want to keep it relaxed. So by step, you have set, set up, then draw, then anchor. Alright. So basically we skip from the set to the anchor point. That's what I said before. It seems you're mentally focused on just this part of the process, which is the anchor point. And I think for what you're doing and where you're at, that's fair enough. You're learning the process, and you've probably learned that anchor is very important, and that's something which is true for archery. But don't forget the rest of the process is also very important. To get to this point, and more importantly, to get to this point, everything else before it must be done sequentially. I think ultimately the release is okay. So that's why you're shooting for your distance in your yard isn't awful. That's why you see over here, it's short distance, but that's not surprising. I think the actual execution isn't that bad. So let's ignore everything else. We get to this point here, expand, release. Okay, we're doing pretty well there. So that at least is workable. But I think for now, what you need to focus on is the setup. So everything leading up to the draw should be put in place. The rest will fall into place as you practice. So for example, you're struggling with your elbow. Once you get your shoulders in line and you feel the draw, then it will make more sense. But that's something we'll fix as we go along. It's not always the case. I mean, this is pretty clean. Although, yeah, that's pretty clean. That's not that off. The elbow's there. The grip is there. So it's a little high, but you'll work on that. But that's pretty much, I think, all we need to talk about at this point. There's a lot more perhaps, but we'll focus on steps at a time. Let's not overload. I think that the most important thing for you is to work on the setup to your draw. So don't draw straight to your anchor. Think about everything else first, and then go through and set yourself up before you start drawing. That's my main feedback for now. But that's a great training video. Thank you for sharing. There's lots of good stuff there, and I really hope that you are doing well in the future. So let's take a bit of a drink break, Quite a few things to talk about. Well, not bad. Tonight's archery juice is Riviera, organic juice, pomegranate and blueberry. Not bad. That's a lot of sugar, actually. Holy crap! That's 41% of a daily intake of sugar. I mean, it's organic, sure, but that's a lot of sugar. Fair enough. I guess it's yeah, it's a fruit juice with sparkling water. Yeah, fair enough. It's tasty, but I'll take it easy on sugar. Okay, what are we doing? So, chat, what's going on? Yep, look, we've got a lot of feedback there. That's fine. Hey, and what is the purpose of a weapon bow to shoot an apple for 100 meters, or a pumpkin or a horse for 50 meters? Sports high fitness. People do actually different reasons. Some people do it for, for tradition. Some people do it for military purpose or for martial purpose. Some people will do it for sport. Some people will do it for entertainment. So there's no one correct way of doing archery. People will experiment, do different things. Silly question. What's the best way to know if you're in line with the target, not too far left or right? Okay, this is a big problem because when you're shooting a target, you should be square on if possible. If you're shooting a target, you may have to step to the left or right. But a lot of people, especially at my club, they don't realize how far off they are, and we tell them, look, you're like 3 meters off target. Like you're actually so far off. Because in a competition, you have like a meter or less between each person, so it's quite cramped. But like when I shoot at my club, like we have no bearing, so people stand like 3 meters away from you on a single target, and there's like three of us. It's incredibly like people don't realize that they have this special awareness about how far things are, how far they are. How do you know if you're too far left or right? Look, the easy way is just draw a straight line. Like if you have a marker on the ground, or a tape or something, just have a marker and just stand at the marker. That's how you would do it. If you're trying to visually gauge how straight you are, that's more difficult because of parallax, because you think you're straight but you're not. It's very hard to tell how straight you are. But be objective. Just have a straight line. In a normal target field, you have like lines either painted or the grass is actually mown so that you have clear shooting lanes. Indoor targets normally have a line or a line of markers. So just mark the target. So have a straight line which you stand on. Otherwise, you're kind of just guessing how far off you are, and that's not precise enough. So that's what I recommend. Okay, demonstrate hooking upwards. Crap, I need a bow. Be right back. Okay, not an Olympic bow, but good enough. And I do have a finger tab here. So I'll demonstrate. This is not what I'm currently using, but this is what I've used before. So I've got the Fivix tab at the moment, the Fivix Seika 2, I think. I've got like several Fivix. By the way, I got an email from Fivix Korea. They want to work with me. How about that? I've been contacted officially by a major manufacturer for once. No insult intended to our Chinese manufacturers, but they have a major manufacturer contacted me and say, hey, we like your stuff. We might get stuff to review from Fivix Korea. That'd be really exciting. And I can tell it's Vivix because the English is really broken. But what opportunity. Anyway, let's talk about drawing. So, how deep... let's cover the hook first. So how deep should the hook be? Now, it's important to note that there's no one correct way. Everyone has a slight difference in variation depending on what you find comfortable. Not even Coach Lee has really done a lot of study on exactly what the thing should be. But what he would generally recommend, and with some personal variation, I'll try and show this to you over here, is, I hope you can see that, right? The hook is generally going to be before the first joint of the index finger. So not on the joint, but just before it. And then you have on the joint for the middle finger and the pad of the third finger. You actually see the upward motion right there as it is, right? So that's the positioning he normally recommends. So just before the front finger, or front joint, on the front joint, and then on the pad. So that's the upward draw. It's kind of exaggerated because I don't have the finger tab right now, but that's kind of what it recommends. And what you end up having is most of the weight will be on the top finger or the middle finger. Again, a little contentious, there are other variations, but at some point you have most of the weight on these two fingers. Primarily the middle during draw, but probably the top finger, the index finger, during the hold and release. So you end up happening like that, right? So rather than being too deep here, as some illustrations will show, that's more what he recommends. The problem having a thing that is too deep is simply that it's hard to maintain good execution. So if it's too deep, then you have to roll your fingers around more to the string to come off. Whereas if it's too shallow, then it's the same thing. It's a bit too rigid. So this is perhaps the best compromise between having the strength to pull the bow back, but also having a clean release. So that's what to keep in mind. Now, as for... So what I meant by how deep and how much the finger curls back, I might need to clarify that a bit more. But what I'm trying to show you here is what it's basically what is taught now is that's what you want. Okay, if that's what you mean by deep, you don't need to curl that much. The key factor in terms of how much the fingers are curled is that when you are drawing with the finger tab, in this case, at full draw, you shouldn't be able to see your fingernails for the top two fingers. So you should see the third fingernail, but the top two fingernails should be invisible. So if you do it correctly, let's have a look here. If I can show this to you on camera. Alright, so if I am, let's turn it this way. There we go. So I'm gonna draw it to my anchor point over here, right? So from your point of view, you should not see my fingernails on the top two fingers. That's how deep it would be. So if I draw it back, anchor. Oh, it's tough. There you go. It's not bad. So I've got a shorter bow here. I'm not in position correctly, but hopefully you can see that, right? So you can see my top two fingernails are kind of hidden, and the bottom finger can't be seen. So from that angle, that's how deep it would be. If I go any deeper than that, then that's obviously going to put me out of line. But that is what it should be. I think that looked pretty good from the angle I saw there. As far as the top question, so the upward hook, I'm going to stand up with this one here. Oh, man. Okay, so the upward hook, not using a proper bow, but we mentioned before. So, I might say the other way. Yep, top two. Okay, so the straight hook's like that. Upward is more like that. Okay, so you're squeezing the base of the finger spacer. So you're not squeezing around it. Okay, that's the wrong grip. You don't want to do this, because if you go around it, you're squeezing the knock. You're defeating the purpose. Whereas if you squeeze the base like that, that largely solves that problem. All right. What you do want to do is basically have a flat surface here for the arrow to release from. So we maintain that at the upward hook, so that's flat, that's upward, and then we draw. You can see on top of the screen there, that's how deep it is. Hopefully that helps. You can replay that if you want to, but I can't hold a 50-pound bow with a short draw like that, but you're right. Man, I'm gonna exhaust myself for the competition today. Just doing demonstrations. All good, having fun here. Alright, hopefully it helps. Alright, by the way, thanks Darkness. Thanks for joining us, and hoping you are learning a lot too. So, let's move on to our next video. Hopefully it's full screen works. Seems alright. Okay. Yep, very good. Alright, so, I guess this is Cecil. I don't know. So this is not this is his brother's form. So, let's watch. It's a 9-second video. Oh dear. It's a bit of a video. That's gonna be a little tricky. this might be very hard to analyze just because it's just such a short thing and we don't see the whole shot process. So this is quite tough to analyze, but we'll see what we can do here. So we don't see the draw, it's already at full draw. Well, we see a few things we can work on. It'd be nice to see the whole shot process, but we'll see what we can do here. So, one thing I'll identify, well, there are quite a few things here. Alright, so, where do we start here? I'd say we need to be mindful of our shoulder position. So we're a little too compressed. The the elbow is too far out this way towards the right. We're seeing a flat image, so we'll show them on my screen. So what we're saying here, all right. So if you're looking at me from straight on, all right. Sorry. If you're looking at me from straight on over here, let's do it this way. Alright, so from this angle, what you should see is that when I draw this bow back, hypothetically, my elbow should be behind the arrow. Okay, so the bow's here, elbow, when I draw, that's a nice draw. Now, what we see in the video is, whoop, it's sticking out this way. So basically, bow's in front there, I'm holding you as the bow, but I'm pulling back, my arm sticking out this way. The elbow should be in line over here, okay? So it should be over there, and not over here. So that's the first sign we see there. Second thing is it's a bit too low. What you want to keep in mind, you probably can't see it when you do it, but you can feel it. The elbow should also be pointing towards the grip. That's a little too low. It's pointed along the arrow. You don't have to follow the arrow line. So we see the arrow sticking out, and we see the elbow a little too low. Yes, there is a gap in the anchor point. That's mostly a function of the elbow being too low rather than the anchor point itself. Another thing to bear in mind is the string is too far on the side of the nose. Since we're shooting with a low anchor point, that's mostly used for Olympic archery, which just seems to be what you're doing here. The normal method is to have a side anchor with the nose on the string. People will say different things. I think what I've been taught effectively is to have the string on the slightly left side of the tip of the nose, but this is too far on the right side. So I don't have about to show you right now, but what I'm saying is the anchor point should be here, but the string should not be that far across. So if you see in the video, string is basically right there. So you want the string close to your tip. Now, slightly left can be very effective for many people, but as long as it's on the tip, you want to aim for that point, not this point. And back to the whole thing. You can really see that, like, it's right on the nose there. That's on the left, on the right nostril. So that is too far to the right. You can see, I mean, I can't really judge the expansion of the video here, but what we do see, I think we've lost back tension. So the focus is currently on the hands. It should be on the back and in pushing forward. So what happens here is because we've lost back tension, the release flies off to the side. So there are multiple reasons here. Remember, the elbow's out of line. There's no back tension. So this is a very flamboyant release, and that's basically what we call ineffective release. So yeah, that is a pluck, and the bow arm just sliding down also shows no back tension. So this is what you'd expect from a light bow. You might not feel the back tension, but that opening hand and that limp follow through, there's no back tension. So what you should be working through, let's go through quick dot points here. So we should be keeping the elbow slightly higher. So the elbow should be in line with the grip, not with the arrow. So at full draw, that should be slightly higher. The elbow should be further back behind the arrow. The string should be on the tip of the nose. There should be a continual expansion, so you try to maintain by pushing forward, focusing on your torso pushing forward rather than the hand pulling backwards. and the release should be committed. So this should be straight back along the arrow, and this should be straight forward if a slightly left as you drift left. But you need to maintain a 50-50 movement. This isn't a 50-50. This is more like, 70 backwards, 30 forward. So it's a very limp forward motion, very jerky backward motion. And that's basically this 9-second video in a nutshell. So hopefully that does help. So making it quite swift there, but it's a small video. But that should highlight quite a few things to work on. And that should leave us one more to work with. So this is good. It's about 1 hour long at the moment, and I need to rest for my competition. So we'll take a quick break over here. What is chat saying? This chat saying, Digger, does your size determine how big your bow should be? Roughly, yes. Your draw length will determine how long how big your bow should be, and that's that's proportionate to your arm length, which is proportional to your height or your size. People have different proportions, of course, so it's not that rigid. But your draw length is largely a dictator of how long your bow should be. But it also depends on what bow you get. If you're shooting target bows, they are naturally meant to be longer. Whereas if you're shooting hunting bows, then they're meant to be shorter. So don't take charts and go, I'm this tall, I should get this bow. Depends what bow you were getting first and what kind of archery you're doing. But yes, the answer is basically yes, but what size you actually do get depends on what you were shooting. Alright, let's go through our final video. I think we'll have enough time for that. This is from Rose, and Rose I think is shooting a longbow. There are 3 videos in this playlist. I'm taking this one because the front angle tells the most, and then we'll go through maybe the others if you need to. So let's go through Rose's. Hopefully this actually works. Yes, it does. Let's have a look-see. Alright. A night video. We've got a light at least, so we can see that. Okay, we can see the archer. That's the most important part.
In my eyes.
I've got a feeling this isn't an archery glove. Are you running the arm guard the right way? This is small things first, but is the arm guard just the light's kind of blocking it? But the bracer, that leather should be on your forearm. I think you've got to turn too far upwards. So that's kind of like positioned the wrong way. So if you do hit yourself, it's not gonna protect you as much. And maybe because you're turning your elbow upwards, but that root should be more visible on the camera. That leather part there, but this is a small thing. Okay, let's see the actual shooting. So pay attention. Grip seems okay. I mean, we're shooting a thin longbow. I think it's a longbow. So that's kind of what you have to do for the grip there. Traditional grip. The hook seems a little light. It may be because the gloves you were using. It's a fairly light fingertip grip. I would like to see a little deeper. Actually, we mentioned before with Lookman's question that you shouldn't be able to see the top 2 fingernails, and I do see them. If you weren't wearing a glove, I can see your fingernails. That's a bit too delicate a grip, and it may be because you're shooting a very light bow, but you wouldn't do this with a heavier bow. So what you need to watch out for. Let's actually just have a camera demonstration while we're here. Boat, come here. So let's be mindful that we don't want to have too delicate, because this is a 50-pound bow, right? Yeah, it's really hard to pull a bow back with just your fingertips. You wouldn't want to do that. You do want to have your fingers around a bit more. So having just around a bit more, come straight back in, compared to a delicate grip and you're struggling to get it back. You can get away with it on a light bow. I should make a footnote that a lot of things will work on a light bow. It doesn't mean that will work on a heavier bow. And some of the demonstrations we've seen so far, some of the recent videos, use very light bows. You can get away with a lot of things. So do keep in mind that because you can shoot a light bow, doesn't mean your method will work for a heavier bow. We're kind of future-proofing what you're doing. Sorry. Okay. So one thing I want to I want to see a bit more of a process if we're doing it this way. So we see a lot of. This is a bit of a philosophical point here, but there's a difference between doing archery and flinging arrows. So we're not really following a process. And by the way, chat, what do you think, right? At what point do you call yourself an archer? Right? I'm not saying that Rose isn't doing archery, but one of the things we have to be mindful of is that doing archery requires an understanding of process and purpose. If you're not following that mindset, then you're basically just pulling a string back and letting it go. That's not doing archery. So we're at the point where Rose, in this case, I think, is still learning archery, but you need more conscious process, because if you're going to learn from here, we need to understand what we're doing moving forward. So we are currently flinging arrows. So how do we go from flinging arrows to doing archery? Let's work a process in. So we know it happens to the best of us. Alright, so we know the steps involved. Okay, so what we need to pay attention to is we need to look at this part of the process. Now, because we're not doing Olympic style, I'm not going to go Olympic style. This is traditional longbow. So what we need to look at is how we draw. Let's take this particular snapshot. So what Rose is currently doing is that instead of setting the bow up, raising the bow, and then pulling it back using the strongest muscles, she goes straight from knocking the bow, and then she does this push pull, and push pull is normal. It's kind of archery. That's the traditional style of archery. But there's little thought behind those 2 points. So between the knock here. So we need to be more attentive to what's happening between these points. Alright, so this for the most part is going to be a fairly weak draw. Alright, because we're not positioning our body correctly before we begin. So the shoulders must be in line. We must be conscious that we are pushing the front arm forward and keeping straight where possible, and then pulling back at the same time the rear arm. It's a mechanical process which has to be synchronized. So what I will try to show you is that we want, let's get the bow again, I'm not using gloves, just using my bare fingers, that's fine. Turn the camera this way so a bit, there we go. So what we want to try to achieve here is, again, not using a longbow. I do have a longbow, which I might not use at the moment. But if we do it this way, lift the bow, so we push forward with our bow arm, and then we pull back with a rear arm. That's basic push-pull. So we go up, and then, well, that's heavy, crap. Don't do this with your bare fingers, alright? So, in. And this is a heavier bow. This is about a 50-pound bow. About 45 of my fingers, but it's a 50-pound bow. So, if I do what you do, what Rose is doing, I'll probably struggle a lot more. And where I would struggle is if I just go straight from, knocking the arrow and then go up like that. That's a very hard draw. So, I want you to start paying attention to technique, which allows you to use heavier bows rather than using just light techniques. So, focus more on getting it in position first. So get the position, then push forward into the bow as you're drawing back. That's basically what push pull is. So you need to commit to the shot by putting your body into the shot. That's basically what I'm trying to say here. It's a rough explanation, but what we're seeing Rose do is very casual. It's too casual for me. It sounds bad, but I'm not saying it's in a bad way. It's casual pulling the string back. Alright, so we're not going through much of the archery motions. So what we're trying to achieve is... There's a lot going on here. It's too delicate. It's too ladylike. We need to make this a strong draw. Okay. Sorry, Rose. I'm not being frustrated. It's just so quick that I'm trying to diagnose this. Okay, so what can we do? That seems to be slightly better in this case. There's a bit more rotation in the body. There's a bit more alignment going on here. So, firstly, we need to draw further than this. This is right at the tip of your chin. We're under drawing. We need to draw further back. Now, if you're shooting longbow, you should be anchoring at your cheek. Now, you're touching your cheek, but your fingers are on your chin. That's what it looks like. Yeah, that's in front of your chin. So we see where the fingers finish. It's dead release. So it's trying to replicate this. It's here. Okay, so you're basically pulling here that way. So with a normal bow or long bow, you might be pulling back here or further, but we're going very short over here. It's a very short draw for one. So they've got a bent arm. They've got a short draw here on a very light bow. It's very light. So it's a weak draw. That's one. Next up, so yeah, this technique works on a light bow. I feel that the way that's been drawn. So from this point, so this is where she starts to draw. Not preferred. No, you should be starting to draw with the bow already raised. So you don't want to start from here. Otherwise, you'll be engaged in the wrong muscles. But in this case, you can see the front arm is pushing forward, and basically the front arm's doing all the work. Okay, and there's no back tension at all. You see dead release. There's no back tension. That's all the things there. Okay, so yeah, I think there's a lot to work on. I mean, I think Rose is just starting out, so it's understandable. And we're shooting longbow, which is
drop one for good luck.
A little hard to get into if you're not the right technique. You kind of need to know what you're doing for this to make sense.
Ghost right in the neck.
Alright, so my recommendation: deeper hook,
Right in the neck.
deeper anchor, lift the bow before you draw it back, and then remember to push forward and pull back. But the bow should be in position before you draw. So basically, this is the position you want to be in, then pull the string back, while of course pushing forward. Don't go from low here and go straight to a draw. You need to establish the right body structure before you draw the string back. And when you shoot heavier bows, this will punish you if you don't do it right. It's easy at the moment for a light bow, but it's going to be much harder with a heavier bow. I also heavily recommend that at the point where you have full draw and anchor, focus on expansion. Okay, this isn't the end of your shot. So you need to focus on your back muscles and having back tension, because that will finish the shot. Back tension and the expansion motion will finish the shot. This is an incomplete shot because you've come to your anchor point, you've let go, and there's like shock and horror. That's not a complete shot. In fact, when we see the back view, this is where it comes in handy now. The back view will probably tell a lot. So this is the actual back. You can see there's no back tension. Alright, so that this is a giveaway. So from this shot, you can see short draw. This could be a lot longer, but you can see this is not only a lack of back tension, but actually it collapses. So that's something which is already obvious from the front view, but there's no back muscle engagement here. So these are basically dead shots.
I got some dirty arrows hanging in my leg. 3 fingers.
Yep, so there's no back tension there. We do one more angle. But I think the message is you need back tension. Put your back into it. I mean, you can see her trying to get the back into position, but once she does, I mean, there's the alignment there, but once she's in position, it's a dead move. It's a dead movement. She collapses on the shot. So you need to remember. I'm curious what the draw weight is. I should ask this before, but it seems like a light draw weight. Yeah, need more back tension. All right, I think that does it. That's kind of feedback to Rose, and hopefully this should be interesting enough. So, what do you think? Any more videos? Last chance to send them in. Otherwise, we are pretty much done for the night. What are you thinking? Yeah, it is a little quiet tonight. It's true, actually, corporeal. Yeah, I shouldn't be up to this now. It's like 1:40 a.m. and I've got to cop, like 6 hours. But time zone's pretty weird too. Like normally my normal time is about 9 p.m. here, which is about human times in Europe and weird times in the US. But yeah, it's all quiet tonight. That's fine. Yeah, I mean, corporate, I agree. Stop in the shot, compose yourself. They don't just pull it back and let go. I think that's what I meant by like not doing archery. It's when you just pull it back and let go. That's not really archery. That's just pull it back and letting go. Do take the point to focus on the process. Lookman, regarding the bow hand, the knuckles should be at least 45 degrees-ish angle. What about the pressure point? Where's it cleared on the thumb pad and where's located the grip itself? I don't have a grip here at the moment. I've got a lot of trash here. I'm pretty sure I've got a... No, I use my grip, damn it. No, I don't have a grip here. Where's my bow grip? I would show you if I can find my bow grip. No, I've got a bow here. Doesn't matter. So, in terms of where it should be, so the key is with the bow grip in the front hand, about 45 degrees, pull the pinky finger back, and that exposes the pressure point over here, right? So, puchik, over there. Pressure point should be there, right on the medial part, which lines up with the wrist, right? So, that's where you want to push. So, you want to squeeze that together, put the pinky finger back, and I'm pushing right the camera there, right? That there is where you want to. Try it yourself right now, right? You should feel that when that's squeezed together, that's the toughest point right there, right on the medial part. Many people will need to develop it further because it may be a little underdone, a little weak. So, this one here is kind of like softer. That one's much tougher from years of archery. So you want to put it there, right there. You get a texter or marker and just mark that point there. That's where you want it, okay? Right there. On the bow grip itself, basically where the pressure point is, right? That's the pivot point, the throat. The pressure point is down here. So when you apply it together, alright, grip, there. Put it that way, okay? So 45 degrees, grip, there. So you pull it back. Can't do it from here, but you pull it back. You can see that's where it feels. That's a little hard for me, but the way the grips are designed is where you're meant to place the pressure point. Modern grips do that. The more traditional straight grips don't do that, but the modern grips will have a more obvious point. So main thing is focus on pulling the pinky finger back and push that pressure point into the bow grip. Make it strong. Don't feel afraid to have a strong grip because it is meant to be tense. A lot of people think you're meant to you are meant to have a relaxed grip, but it doesn't mean you have no tension. You do need to have a pressure point for a reason. Anyway, I think that's it for me. That should answer all the questions left over. That's cleared my backlog so far. I think I will apologize for making this a weird time. I normally announce it beforehand, but I've been sleeping all day and I want to go back to sleep now. But hopefully this will give you some insight. It's now 1:43 a.m. and I think we've gone through most of our questions. We will be having a very special live stream, a live Q&A later this month. We have a special guest this week as well. Not this week, but this month rather. I know people are finally joining us, so oh well, it happens. I mean, the timing's weird, but here we go. Hopefully, you've all learned something. Thanks for everyone for sending things in. If you did miss the stream and you're just joining us right now, then go back and watch the rest. It's worth learning from each other. Some interesting things there. A little quiet tonight, but that's okay. Next time I do a Q&A, I'm sure it'll be more lively. Anyway, this is nu.sensei. Thank you for joining me tonight. I hope you've all learned something. If you want to be part of this in the future, feel free to send videos into the address in the description below. We're looking at hopefully once a month, if not more, but I will need several videos to analyze from this to make it work really well. So feel free to send things in if you want more feedback. Otherwise, hope you enjoy your archery wherever you are, and I will see you all next time.